So we received some comments on our last video that yes, the budget is bad, but if the NDP voted against, then we have an election, the NDP would get wiped out, and what we'd be left with is a Liberal majority government. So let's get into it. First of all, the NDP would be wiped out. The NDP has been wiped out. They've got 7 members in Parliament. They've got the smallest caucus ever in the party's history, and they've lost official party status. How did the NDP get there? They spent over 2 years propping up the Liberal Party. And Don Davies now wants to do it again. This is the logic of Don Davies. We're unpopular, we're broke because we propped up the Liberals. So now we have no option but to prop up the Liberals. That's not smart politics. What that is digging the grave of the NDP deeper and deeper. But nobody wanted an election, some people have said. The fact is, even if the NDP had voted against, it's very likely the Conservatives would have voted to keep the Liberals in power, because they also don't want an election. 2 of their members abstained, and more of their members were prepared to abstain if necessary. People have asked, why are you blaming the NDP? Why don't you blame the Conservatives? But the fact is, if the NDP had voted against, people would be blaming the Conservatives. And the NDP could go say, look, they're 2 birds of a feather. Conservatives and Liberals are the same thing. The NDP has now lost that opportunity, and they've been branded with the toxic Liberal label. But also, even if an election were held, it's not a foregone conclusion that the NDP would be wiped out. If they broke from the Liberals, if they went forward on a bold, fighting socialist program, if they said things like, we're going to use the money for the army to build public housing, we're going to nationalize auto and steel in order to save jobs. On that basis, they could galvanize the support of millions of people. It's not all about the money. Look at someone like Zoran Mamdani. A few months ago, he had no support. He had no money. Now he's the mayor of New York City. How did he do that? By being seen as different, as bold, as an unapologetic socialist. Of course, despite his many limitations, that's true. But it shows you what can be achieved. But the NDP would never do that. And that's the problem. The reason why the NDP establishment is seen as a part of the political establishment, it's not just because of poor decisions. It's because they are a part of the political establishment. They're much closer to Mark Carney than they are to you or me. And that means election or no election. The working class in Canada does not have a voice in the Canadian Parliament. And it won't happen until people like Don Davies are swept to the side and replaced with real fighters. We need to build a real workers' party that puts forward bold socialist ideas. And that's what we're building at the RCP. And we need your help to build it because we're too small. We need your help to become a factor in the working class and to give working class people in Canada a voice.